Oh, hello everyone. Welcome back, and thanks for visiting once again. Going to carry on with the Mk1a Spitfire 1/48 scale here today, doing a couple of things. So the first of all, as you'll remember from the last visit, if you came along, which I hope you did. Thank you if you did. The seams here are going to need filling, and as you can see, I've started to do that. So I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then the other thing I'm going to do is, I'm not going to seal this all up yet, because obviously we haven't got the cockpit to put in, and there's a reason why I'm not doing that just yet. But what I am going to do is I'm going to glue up the back of this here in preparation to get some filler into this section here, which you can see has rather a bad short shot in terms of this doesn't look the same on the starboard side to the port. So I'm going to have to put some filler into there, fill that through, and then sand it out to make it look like the other side, and to try and make the curvature here fit with the rudder and so on, so that it looks like an actual model. So we had a bit of a faulty model there, but hey ho. I like to think that in some way at least I'm a modeler, and I can perhaps get over that. So anyway, there we go. Back to this. I'm going to do some filling. Now, I discovered something rather by accident when I was gap filling a few weeks ago. Now, I use Mr. Dissolved Putty, which is pretty good actually for this sort of thing. I have to shake it a bit, and I inadvertently mixed it with a little bit of Mr. Finishing Surfacer. I hope you can see that there, which had a rather interesting effect. It seemed to act to level off the surface where I'd applied this stuff. It was a bit thinned perhaps, but what tends to happen, I'll get a little poker here, is, for example, in this rather large gap here, the surfacer and the dissolved putty seems to sit into the surface and then leave a seam line, which is obviously what we want here. We want a little raised, a little sunken seam line, I beg its pardon, but I don't want anything at all here, so I'm going to fill them in a second. But this whole oh, that was tight, Mr. Putty, or Mr. Dissolved Putty, and Mr. Surfacer thing seemed to work reasonably well. So what I do here is get a little dollop of that with my taker outer, as it were. We'll just leave that there for a minute and close that up, because I won't need more than that, that's for certain. Give that a bit of a shake, just a second. As other people have said, this stuff tends to go thick when it's near the end of its life, when you get further down the pot, but I won't be doing that anytime soon. So I'll take a little bit of this, not so much, and we'll just deploy a little drop or two there, and then I can mix that up. So this, as I say, this seems to have an interesting effect. Have a try yourself, see what you think, but it seems to work for me, so I'm going to keep trying it for a time. But I suspect, knowing you all out there in modelling world, I'm probably not new to this. This is not new to you at all, as it were, and you've probably done this many times in the past, and you think, oh yeah, well, he's very slow on the uptake here. But that's just me anyway. But as I say, if you haven't tried it, give it a crack. It seems to work quite well, and of course with a small duff old brush you can apply it reasonably accurately. So let's zoom in a bit and keep you on camera here, and then just take a little look at where we want to put this. So just apply it gently into the gap here, and what happens, as I say, is it does sink in, but it doesn't affect the rest of the surface, which is, I think, is really pretty good, to be honest with you. So we'll just go through that quickly. And down to the edge of the wing section there. As I was a little bit careless with the stuff the last time, I'm going to be a bit more careful this time. And there too. So of course with this stuff sinking and levelling itself, you have to do less in the way of sanding as well, which is always useful. So I hope we can see this. Yeah, I think I'm on camera here, which is good. Been working quite hard at making certain that I don't give you, I think what they call in radio terms, dead air, but also give you something to look at as well, because I suspect there's nothing more annoying than some clown doing stuff off camera and then jabbering away inanely just to try and give you something to listen to rather than something to listen to and look at. That overspilt a bit there, I think, but we'll keep going anyway. You see this outer gun barrel on this, or the hole here on this side, I think really needs to be opened out, but as you'll know, this will be covered with a decal anyway, a little red muslin doped panel, which is what was used on the full-sized aircraft to stop the dust and rubbish getting into the gun barrels until you really wanted to use them. And then when you hit the trigger for the first time, opens up the holes and away you go, fire at will, as it were. So there we go. So we'll leave that there. Clearly once this all dries off, have to open up this seam line here because you want that to show through on the paint. Same on the other side of course as well, but didn't quite get into that bit there particularly well. There we go, try that one more time. There we go. Just give this a bit of a dab over there. I may have to do one or two more treatments of this before it's absolutely spot on, but it looks like, to me anyway, a reasonably good way of doing seams. So we'll lay that away to one side to deal with that. And with this brush, it's just an old Duff brush. I just pull the material off that I haven't used, and then wipe my dibbers away, and then wipe that off, and it's gone. Clearly, I put rather a lot on there, but I do the same with Tamiya paints and Mr. Colour as well, and you can mix it on here and it forms a good mixing palette, so that works quite nicely. There we are. So the next thing is to take a look at this this seam here. So I'm only going to bond just a short section, probably up to this, you can see it there, that panel line just there that my finger's running over. Maybe you can hear that possibly. And then let that dry off, and then we'll put some filler onto that. And I'm going to use Perfect Putty for that, which is white, and then I can sand it back, and if I need to build the surface up I can. So stop jabbering and get on with it, shall I? Just a standard, actually let's put a peg on this. So I did prepare earlier. There we go. Actually, I'm looking at this, I think perhaps I'm just going to use my magnifier. Oh, I'll show you something in a minute about a bit of a disaster I had with the wing. You probably see it from where you're looking. I don't know, but I'll show you that. That's a bit embarrassing, really, but there we go. An advert to be careful, I suppose. Hang on, I just need some tape. Just put that there for a minute. There we go. So we're ready there now. Absolutely 100% ready. So just bond just up to that mark there. And then up the line of the rudder. And very carefully into here. My vision's not particularly good. I normally need the magnifier to do this, but I'm doing it without the aid of that safety net today. So what we'll do is just hold that for a second for that to bond. Of course, I could have used the quick setting, which I spoke quite highly of last time, but I've used standard this time. So I think, yeah, there we go. That's nice and dry to the touch now, so I can just drop a bit of tape over there and that'll hold that in place. And I'll just leave that for a second just to show you this wing here. So I don't know if you can see it. Let's just zero right in on this. You can see that little imperfection there. There you go. It shows up quite nicely there. I had a peg on there, if you remember, holding that back. And as I bonded into here, the glue slipped underneath that peg. Now, fortunately, there isn't much to get in the way of that. There is that little panel there, and I'll have to remake that and rescribe that and this panel line back here, but I can still feel that panel line, so that's all okay, really. So hopefully we'll be all right with that, and it won't show through when I come to paint. If I'm careful, that will be the case with any luck. So whilst we wait for that, we'll just crack on with section 41 and 42, which is the horizontal tailplane. So B7, B6 and B5 and 4 for port and starboard. So we'll take those off nice and carefully. Let's do that on camera, shall we? Let me show you where I was. There we go. So 4 and 5, 6 and 7 on those panels. There you go. Still went off camera. It's not good, is it? My bad. So we'll cut that out there. I'll go up close on that. Up close on that, and away carefully with that. And away carefully with that. Up close with that. And there we go with those. Put them away for a second because we're going to be bonding them before long. So take the medium glass file and have a little attack of that. These are really good. These take the surface down absolutely beautifully, and you can't feel anything, but they don't take any other material off from what I can see. Well, they do, but it's much more difficult. So if you want to take material off with a file, you know, something like that, crack on. I like these. I think these are really good. So we'll just push them down. They tend to follow the surface, so even with a Mark 1 fingernail, you just can't feel anything there at all. And that one as well. And let's do that. Oh no, I have to be careful with that. Now, one might be best to use a file on that one, actually, as it goes. So what we'll do is we'll quickly use a file on that. Yeah, that seems all right. And finally, then we can start to test fit and see where we go. So again, I think we're all clear on that. So as you can see, there are plenty of ejector pins, but they'll all be hidden. So yeah, that's going to fit, isn't it? That's the wrong way round. So no locator pins there at all, although it does seem to fit in up to that. Yeah, so this locates on this edge here, as you can see, and then within there. So you have to be careful with that. Make certain that they're all. I'm just going to look through the mirror a minute. Sorry, the magnifier mirror. Where do I get that from? looks, yeah, well, it should be okay. I'll just test fit these just to make sure. I'm looking particularly at the trailing edges. I want the trailing edges to be as sharp as they can be. I don't know if you can see these. I'm looking through the magnifier to the corner of the screen here. And yeah, so there's a bit of a gap. You can see that okay. There's a bit of a gap between the top and the bottom here, so we're going to have to use, I don't know, I think probably some other type of glue for that, or not really sure quite what I'm going to do about that. I'll use extra thin, I think, because it will wick in along the surface. And what I'll do is I'll attack the back side of this here, because that's where the elevator will go, and we'll see if we can get that to wick all the way through. Be quite liberal with the glue here, and the slightly concave surface here will help me to make certain I get that right. Just glue in there. And in there, get that to wick down there. A spot of tape maybe in a second. Just hold that there for a minute. Yeah, that seems wrap that over the back. Yeah, let's have a quick look at that. Oh yeah, that's bonded nicely actually at the back there. That's good. So I'm going to do this through the magnifier because I can see it more easily. And then just hold that down there. It's not quite dry yet. Hold that down again. I thought they were going to be difficult for a minute. They turned out to be quite a lot easier than I'd anticipated. So there we go. Right, that's that one done. Put that away. Same with this one. Let's have a quick look in the magnifier, make sure that that fits all nicely. That's the chair squeaking, by the way. That's not my hips. It's a foul rumour. I don't like that. That fit doesn't feel nice. What can we use? What can we use? I need to just ease that out a bit because that's not quite fitting as it ought to. It's not by much, but it's just by a little bit. I won't be able to show you that on the camera either. Ah, that's better. There we go. That's much better. So we'll do the same thing again. There we go. I'll just hold that there for a minute. Just drop a splodge of glue in there. That's a technical term, by the way. And hold that for a second. See where we go. Put that away. Don't need that anymore. A bit more tape. Put that back up there, out of the way. Look through the magnifier there. Yeah, see that's bonded quite nicely there. Just going to go back through the rear side of that again. And and hold that for a second, and then I can tape around that, just a little bit of tape around that there, and that's that bit done, so we can put them away. So we don't need them anymore. Put them away, put them where they go, up there. So hopefully that should have now bonded, and yeah, it looks like it has done. Yeah, it's not quite, and you can probably see here that that's got a, we're going to have to get in close to that. There's a slight gap between both sides there, but I think mostly that has to do with the fact that this, let's see if I can show you this absolutely. There you go, you can see that very well there. See, that's where the short shot is, and I'm going to fill that up with, oh, they've gone off camera, there we go. I'm going to fill that up with some white putty, but I'm going to leave that to harden now. But that's the extent of what I'm going to do for now. Just finally show you these wing sections here. They're pretty much dry to the touch now, and I think what we'll be able to do is to sand those. Let's go into there a little bit. We'll be able to sand those white marks out just very easily with a very smooth sander, and it will take seconds, and I suspect there won't be any gap to see there. Won't be any mark, which I'd be quite happy with. So we'll then be approaching the position where we get the cockpit in and do all the other bits and pieces, and it won't be far off being done then, to be honest with you. So there we go, another quick video to catch up on the build of this. Progress hopefully will be reasonably rapid now from here on in, and I'll go away now and put some putty on that when it's on that tailplane when it's hardened, and we'll come back a little bit later on and do some other things, and all the best in the meantime. Thanks very much. Bye for now.